Jambo, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Safari Mack Returns to Africa. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm sorry to say that we are leaving the Serengeti National Park. Maybe we'll come back to it before our time is up, I don't know. But today we are moving on in Kenya to the high mountainous regions of Aberdare National Park, where today we are looking at one of the most rare and reclusive mammals on the African continent. Meet the mountain bongo, or known by their Latin name of Tragelaphus uricyrus isaki. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing it right. Now, I know you're probably thinking at first, it looks like just another species of antelope, right? Like, what's the big deal? But as this is one animal that is becoming ever more rare, it is always my duty here on this channel that I should give to you their voice, or help them have their voice be heard by the rest of the world that can aid them in their survival. But before we begin, if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out my Facebook page for content on conservation. And if you have a question, or if there's an animal that you want me to do in the future, you just have to send me an email, which you will always find the link to down in my description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started. In terms of their evolution and their family, it's pretty interesting. Now, this creature is a large forest-dwelling bovid that has evolved specifically to be able to live in these high, mountainous, rainforest-like habitats where their beautiful autumn-like color and their white stripes actually help them blend in perfectly into their environment, so as to provide a special kind of camouflage. Another special feature are their horns. As you can see, it's kind of curled, which helps them be part of this family, the Tragelaphini, which includes other species of antelope, such as the Gurnook or giraffe antelope, the impala or Thompson's gazelle, even the black bucks that you would find in the grasslands of India. Now, I'm not exactly sure when these creatures first evolved. However, what I can tell you is that they were discovered originally by Irish naturalist William Ogilvie, but it wouldn't be until the 1950s and 60s that these creatures were more studied, and we were able to identify who was who. Because today we find two kinds, the lowland bongo and the critically endangered mountain bongo, which is now strictly reduced to the mountainous rainforests of Kenya. So, whether they are lowland or in Kenya, whether they're lowland or mountain, all bongos have historically been found in Central Africa, Western Africa, and Eastern Africa. Now, the central and western parts have some strongholds, but in Kenya, especially for the mountain bongo, Kenya is where they are unfortunately restricted to. They really cannot be found anywhere else within the East African range. Now, you may think that these creatures are always in favor of extreme, pristine rainforests where it's undisturbed, but it turns out from agricultural and uncontrolled cutting, it seems that the bongos seem to favor the more disturbed areas as they help to provide low-level green vegetation for food. Now, sometimes they actually have to rely, whether they are lowland or mountain, they rely on other animals, such as elephants, to be able to clear away certain sections of habitat, which can help them in their survival in finding food, shelter, and in time, potentially mates. Now, like all other ungulates, bongos are not really, especially in the forested regions, they're not really seen to be hanging out in big herds. But they're not always solitary either. Now, males are exclusively solitary, but the females can live in groups, which can include anywhere from 2 or 6 or 8 individuals. However, some sightings by biologists have been able to help us identify some groups being comprised of at least 20. Now, however, unlike deer, bongos are known to exhibit a kind of behavior called crepuscular, which is basically active day or night. Now, now to be completely honest with you, their preferred habitat, this is only based on what we've been able to see, but deeper study of their habitat has been very difficult from both American and European scientists because these creatures are really, really, really hard to find. But now, of course, that's not to say, but some have also been able to help us find out that they also will inhabit bamboo habitats. Now, like I said, the males are exclusively solitary, only coming together with coming to the females when it's time to breed. And then after a gestation period of at least 282 to 285 days, or at least 9.5 months, the mom will give birth to a single calf, and then the calf itself, if it's a girl, she'll be ready to breed herself when she's only 24 to 27 months old. And females tend to have a 3-day cycle of being ready to mate once every 21 to 22 days. And by the time the calves are 6 months old, they're already weaned and ready to eat grass. And just like the males, females will also grow horns too. So it's kind of interesting. Now, being a herbivore, obviously they prefer different kinds of plants and grasses and leaves. But there are other foods that they'll eat. In addition to leaves and grass, they'll also eat shoots and buds, bark and twigs, fruits, herbs and vines, even mineral-rich soil. They are also known to regularly visit salt licks. So if you see elephant activity, whether it's in the mountain ranges or in the Congo region, which we will eventually get to, especially from forest elephants, thanks to those areas, bongos, you can see them quite regularly. They've even actually been known to eat burned wood as a way of getting salt. So this has been found in a couple of other animals, but this was pretty interesting when I first learned about it. Now, their influence in human culture is pretty interesting. These creatures have been known to be called the ghosts of the forests, as they've also been believed and linked with much taboo, especially in the African nation of Gabon, where it's thought to believe that these creatures are possessed by a form known of heavy evil power or witchcraft called sasa. So many believe that actually killing a bongo will bring you madness or seizures that can only be treated by a rigorous cleaning ritual. So, which has actually been able to help them for a long time be safe from hunting by people. However, as time passes though, old traditions tend to linger and eventually will pass on. And in their case, some taboos are completely now gone. Unfortunately, the bongo is facing problems from diseases with livestock, human hunting, extreme loss of habitat, low population density, climate change has affected them, and even the isolation of populations has left them very much in a perilous situation. In fact, with the mountain bongo in East Africa, there is said to be less than 100 of these animals left in the wild. But it's not too late just yet. There is still time, and there is a fighting chance. Since the year 2000, the American Association of Zoos and Aquariums, or AZA, has given the bongo a special survival species plan as a way to help increase the genetic diversity of bongos living in human care. And it's especially thanks to many places like this place in Yulee, Florida, White Oak Conservation, which has been known to help breed critically endangered animals like the bongo, where back in 2004, they actually managed to send 18 of these creatures back to Kenya, where they could help increase the population and their genetic diversity to continue to give these animals a fighting chance for survival. Because as I always say, there's no good reason why we should ever drive any of these creatures out of their habitat or into extinction. So I hope that this has been a pleasure for you all, but be sure to join me next week as we get on the lookout for one of their predators. spotted hyenas. But until then, I'll see you all out there.